welcome back to Praggers Gaming. I'm Gamer Praggers and this is Citizen Sleeper. In the last episode we chose to evacuate the Eye, and so we've started preparations on the flotilla to be able to evacuate the Eye. However, Peake has also come up with a plan to potentially help protect the Eye from the Flux event that is happening, and we've also been given the deadline of 12 cycles to get everything ready before the next Flux wave hits us. At the very end of the episode we finished fixing up the docking access for Ember's song. Now the problem we've got here is they are planning to abandon everyone once they are ready, or when they're going. So we're gonna carry on and see what happens. The docking access is little more than a shell. Everything that could have been pulled from its interior, every arm not used for docking, has been cut away. What remains is a Spartan void with a patchwork of flooring that allows movement. Piles of unusable material are tucked away in corners, but almost everything else has been cleared out. You haven't seen Peter since you last spoke, and now you're realising that you probably never will. There are plans to be made, escapes to plot, the shadow of Hearth to escape. On the cycle the flotilla leaves, these ships will disperse too, the moons of Ember spinning out on different orbits. The chaos has become a quiet diligence now, as the time for departure is so near. Crews cross the axis from ship to ship at speed, bringing supplies or advice, perhaps meeting up to discuss travel vectors in hushed tones, or to debate why they haven't left yet, and whether they should. Among these Singer crews, recognisable for their specialist clothing and often shorn heads, you see the occasional refugee, a paying passenger or a replacement engineer or pilot perhaps from the Eye to seek fortune with the Singers. Most of the crews have 2 or 3 of these additions, some more, and you can't help but wish that whatever else brings them to throw their lot in with the Singer crews, they will have safe passage. You feel a strange attachment to these citizens of the Eye, setting out for the first time. And then one of them catches your eye, crossing the axis with the crew, carrying a large bag and a nervous look. Tala. You freeze for a second. What is she doing here? She glances around, feeling your eyes on her, and catches your eye. Her face brightens immediately. Sleeper! Tala mutters something to her crew and rushes over, dumping a large bag at your feet and embracing you without thinking. Good to see you. She pulls back. And you? She smiles, but then it quickly fades as she realises the context in which you are meeting. She sheepishly glances at her back. Sleeper? She pauses. She pauses again, folding her arms defensively. I'm going to the starboard belt. She waits for your response nervously. Why didn't you say? She sighs. Do you remember me mentioning my family, Sleeper? My brother? You think back to your Griol blurred conversations in the back of the Bantanyan. He came here with me, with my family, when we were little, just after we left Cinza. She bites her lip. He left when we were both teenagers, jumped on some spacer crew heading to the starboard belt. She sighs. I'm an idiot. She shakes her head. And I'm going after him? She looks down, not sure what to add. That makes sense. She looks at you. It does? She laughs nervously. I'm not so sure anymore. I really don't know if it makes sense or if it's the right thing, but ever since I heard that was where the refugee flotilla was going, well, I couldn't stop thinking about him. What happens to the bar? Someone will have to run it. She leaves a long pause. I mean, I can ask Francis. He'd be happy to, or one of the others, she blurts out. And of course, if you're leaving with the flotilla, or someone else, It'd be totally okay. You wouldn't need to say yes. It's no pressure. It's fine. Whichever way. I was just thinking. I'm not staying. Right. Tala smiles a tight smile. I could ask someone else then. But she glances at the crew she was walking with, who were chatting a little way away. There's not exactly much time. So considering that, she grabs the key hanging around from Net. The key to the Bantayan. Do you want to do it? Tala leaps forward and embraces you again. Thank you, Sleeper. I couldn't be leaving it in better hands. She pulls the key from around her neck and places it around yours as if presenting a medal. Remember to lock up, especially the back, and remember to empty the still if you were leaving things closed for a few cycles. And she stops herself. I won't be gone forever, of course. She blinks away a tear. I can come back and check in, maybe once I find my brother. She pauses, unable to finish that thought. She smiles at you, and you can see the weight lifting off her shoulders, her eyes already drifting towards the crew, the ship, the next big thing. She's ready. I'd better be going. She nods at the crew nearby. Not a good start to keep my guys waiting. She lifts the bag onto her shoulder. She looks down the curve of the eye towards the overlook. Thanks again, Sleeper, for everything you've helped me with. She nods. I wouldn't have been able to leave it if I hadn't made things work here. She adjusts the bag. Dad wouldn't have let me. See you around. She nods. Hope so. Then Tala turns, heading back to the crew who will carry her to the starboard belt. You watch her go, and despite the departure, it is hard to feel sad about Tala. You know her energy will carry her forward, and you hope her brother is somewhere on that bright path. You hold the key in your hand, the metal still a little warm from Tala's body. You turn it over in your fingers, thinking about how it feels like a tool and a burden. You can still lock up and leave, you figure, but now that will feel like breaking something fragile. And if you stay, well, who knows what this little metal promise might grow into. Okay. So, if we come down here and cross, so oh, we need to speak to Feng, don't we? Evacuate or protect. It's not Tala's, it's mine. Okay. So under protect the eye, Peake needs a plan. Access and seed the systems. Okay. So if we head to Feng's Bay then, is there anything we can do there? Find Feng. Okay. And we move on to the next cycle. Okay. 5 dice, not great dice. Seed. 3 makes that a 5. Makes that 5. Okay. So we need food. Okay. Okay, so we can finish one of these off. Okay. They just keep coming. Perhaps the Flux event scared enough people that they really believe the eye will collapse. Perhaps they are sick of Havenage, of the Council's infighting and the hardliners. Or perhaps they just want to take a chance at some new future. A place that is anywhere but here. Whatever it is, the evacuees don't stop. They come on the flotilla shuttles, on their own ships, however they can. You've seen so many faces pass that they are almost meaningless now, a parade of features that seem both familiar and distant. You've been helping people, lifting bags, bringing in supplies, directing them to the berths you helped build. Some of them recoil from your touch, still unfamiliar with sleepers. Others treat you with pity, some with hate, snatching back their bags and storming off. Still you help. Still you carry boxes and bags. Nothing can stop you. You don't look for Sol. You know he is busy, just like you, trying to make this thing work. Trying to fit as many people as will come onto the Pilgrim Seed. You know you will see him before all this is over. You keep working, but there's something in the back of your mind, something eating away at you. You try to push it to the back of your thoughts, but it keeps coming back. The eye is over. That is the thought. That the eye, even if the Flux doesn't get it, is on its way out. How can it survive when these floods of people are leaving it behind? It's a thought that troubles you, because it makes you question why you have held on here so long, in a place that seems so temporary for so many people. Are you just a stubborn idiot? Someone who didn't get the message? Or are you strong, committed for lasting the storm, for seeing the collapse coming, and facing it head on? Because there is something you are sure of now. This place, like all places, is temporary. And as each face passes you, each family packs up and gets on board the Pilgrim Seed, it feels ever more temporary, ever more fragile. Which means it either desperately needs protecting, or it desperately needs to be left behind. The choice is yours. So that just leaves us with the dust. The dust houses. We use the 2. Okay. The climbing briar. There isn't anything to do there. So maybe we'll stick that into... If we stick it into Fang, finding Fang. Yeah, can't buy that yet. And that's shipmine fragments. Okay. Right. The repaired unit. How much scrap have we got? We've got 2. So we've now got a problem. Because we're now out of scrap to be able to repair ourselves. What have we got dice-wise? Let's find Feng. That's it. No more wasting time. Peake sighs and pulls out their slate. They crack open a box on the side of the base shutter and wire the slate to what's inside. Maybe your friend has a Havenage pass card or something inside. Peake shoots you a glance. Something they wouldn't mind if we borrow. Let's wait. Peake doesn't look up. We haven't got time to wait, they sigh. Coming here was a mistake. After a few tense moments, the shutter jerks and begins grinding open, the noise making you jump. Let's get inside. Peake glances around quickly. You slip into the dark of the bay, punctuated by the blinking lights of Feng's piles of servers, somehow even more disordered than before. Peake makes a beeline for the desk at the centre, scattered with tools and components. They flick on a lamp and stare at the mess. Are you sure this person can help us? Yes. You are interrupted by the sound of footsteps from the entrance. Someone has come in behind you. Peake freezes. I could swear I closed this shutter when I left. Feng leans on a stack of servers near the entrance. Must be getting forgetful, he grins at you. Feng. The very same. Feng smiles. Feng raises an eyebrow. Thought you'd come rob an old friend, is that the plan? We need your help. You'll hear about the Flux. Peake nods and is suddenly giving Feng their full attention. Feng smiles, pleased with himself. I guessed as much. I saw changes in the old system architectures almost immediately. Some of them have been running since the first days of the station, and so when I saw new patterns, shifts in logic, I knew something must have happened. These past cycles I've been doing a total inventory of the core systems, from the hub to the rim, he grins. I've surprised myself, to be honest. I didn't think I had it in me. Peake seems unamused. And what did you find? That's the thing. There's something all twisted up in the systems and protocols, but every time I look at it, it disappears. Peake finishes. Feng turns to you. Do they always do that? Peake ignores him. It's a shadow protocol. It masks itself somehow, bedding into the gaps between the systems in the negative space. It is slowly filling every system in the station, slowly taking over, and we need to stop it. You need to grant us access to all the core systems of the station, rotational control, life support. Feng holds up a hand. Whoa, 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 slow down there. I don't even know your name. Feng shakes his head. And you were asking for the keys to the castle? Can't be done. You can trust Peake. Feng pauses and glances between both of you. How long have you known this one, Sleeper? I know I owe you, but I also know that you trust too easily. Sorry to say it. Peake cuts in. I can vouch for myself. I came to the Eye on the run from the XPR colony Hawthorne, with the intent to keep running until we hit the starboard belt. But since I have been here, I have done everything in my power to protect this place. I have helped to stabilize the refugee flotilla, to investigate the Flux, to identify and make a plan to purge the Shadow Protocol from the station systems. Meanwhile, Havenage has done everything to stop and slow these actions. I have proven myself as a friend to the people of this station, not the administration, many times over, and I will not be doubted by someone who wears the badge of this corrupt administration. Peake fixes Feng with a hard look. Feng looks down at his Havenage jacket and shrugs. This is all I have in my wardrobe. Look, I have no love for the council either, friend, but someone has to run this place, and that someone is me. Feng walks over to the workbench where you are both standing and digs a slate out of the pile of tools. You want to prove yourself? Show me. Peake grabs the slate, and you recognise the tangled form of a Flux node on the screen. Peake immediately starts tapping away at it, its tendrils unwinding in the shadow, just slightly delayed, slipping out of sight. Feng leans in. Interesting, he says to himself. Before long, Peake has unfolded the system completely, and it lies splayed out like an unwound ball of string. At the centre, with nowhere left to hide, is the dark stain of the Shadow Protocol, visible for all to see. What now? Feng asks, his eyes fixed on the screen. How do you kill it? Let Peake answer. There's one entity on the station that we have seen purging the shadow, the Gardener. Who's that? Some Greenway hacker? Peake glances at you. More like an avatar of the Greenway itself. You explain the Gardener to Feng, the feeling of descending into the flowing river of consciousness. You explain the networked chorus, the non-human collective of voices. You tell him of the farming AI's offer to you to be networked into the chorus, dissolved in its flow. Then you explain that by granting it access to the AI's major networks, you hope to reinforce them. Feng is silent for a moment. And you want to let this thing out? He shakes his head. That's the kind of stupid plan I dream up. He pauses. I like it. He smiles. This place is rammed with weird protocols and forgotten intelligences anyway. What's one more ghost in the machine? We tried to limit, of course, Peake explains. That's why we want your help to access the Eye's major systems, to seed some of the Gardener's spores into them, to draw the Gardener's focus to those places. Feng whistles. So the way we save the Eye is by growing mushrooms in all the server stacks. He glances at you. Sleeper, congratulations, you found someone weirder than you. Peake goes to argue, but Feng holds up a hand. In it is an all systems Havenage pass card with his picture on it. Take it, before I change my mind. Thank you. Don't mention it. Feng gives you a look. In all honesty, Sleeper, I was on my way back here to start tearing the place down. The Shadow Protocol had me spooked, so if you're telling me we have figured out a way we might fight it, he looks at Peake. No matter how crazy, then I'm glad to help. He smiles with a tight smile. Come with us. No, Sleeper. He looks away. I have to keep on with my work here. Strengthen those systems, back up the data. The worst comes to the worst. I'll need to rebuild. I won't let this place die. The last pieces of my parents are here, among the data. Goodbye, Feng. Feng embraces you firmly. Stay safe, Sleeper. You take the card and leave the bay with Peake. Once you're outside, they stop you. We should split up. Peake looks worried. We've wasted enough time as it is. Head to the facilities in the hub, the free spoke, and the far side of the shipyard. Seed the garden there. I'm going to find the core control center. That's somewhere on the rim. They hold up the slate. I'll send you a message on your slate when I have something. Good luck. They squeeze your shoulder, and you exchange fearful looks. You know deep down that Peake isn't sure this will work, but they have decided to act, to move with confidence, and for that confidence you are very thankful. So... Oh. 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 So... we need spores. Okay. How many cycles have we got left? 8. Okay. We're going to help the rest of the flotilla. What I don't know is if the flotilla leaves when it's all ready to go. We're halfway through. Okay. Oh, we don't have any scrap. We do have 3 stabilizer though. But we've only got 4 dice. We've got 4 decent dice though. Okay. So if we come here. Okay. That gives us 2. Oh, yeah. Okay, so that's 1 done. And there's that 4 cycles till it's back for us to be able to buy. Oh, life support. Okay. That leaves 1 more. Okay. We'll grab those. Okay. Just out of curiosity, it hasn't done anything yet. Rotational control. As you leave the slate, Peake gives you chirps insistently. You check and see a message. Found a possible entry to the core facility in the low end. Meet me here. ASAP. Peake. A blinking marker gives their position as on the free spoke side of the main block. Better head to the low end. But where are we? Okay, I think we've probably got just enough time to do another cycle after we do this. Okay. So we're going to come down here. and buy food to give us energy, and then we'll doss down in the dorm. Oh, we can't. So we might not have time for another cycle, actually. There we go. You arrive at the coordinates given by Peake's slate, a run-down but active corner of the low end, where a short, glass-roofed alley turns off from one of the main thoroughfares. You wait in the mouth of the alley, leaning against the wall and watching the street life go by. Children hop across grids scratched into the metal floor plates, playing games of their own devising, while older residents sit and talk or play tavla. It's hard to believe that all this is at threat. It seems so concrete, so real. How could some intangible protocol erase all of this? As you're watching, a voice calls out to you from one of the tavla tables set up among the way. You move a little closer and recognize the player sitting immediately. Castor sits, tavla pieces and board ready in front of him, smiling at you. Sleeper, my partner has not arrived for our usual game. Come, please, take her place. He beckons you over, standing and nudging you to sit down with him. A rematch is in order. You owe me a game. Almost immediately, Castor begins the game. Everyone on the eye knows how to play tavla, the methodical movement of the counters across their triangular points, a ready fit for the rhythm of life on the ramshackle space station. Most games begin in the same way, with each player moving with independence, focused only on achieving their optimal early game setup. But there is a moment in each game where it becomes necessary to notice the other player, to anticipate the crossing of the counters across the board, a point of contact, when routine becomes negotiation, and negotiation becomes conflict. As this moment arrives, the subtle shift in the texture of the interaction, Castor begins to speak. I find myself surprised by you continually, Sleeper. He looks over his glasses at you. The way you conduct yourself, for example, suggests an anxious refrain, a defensive protective quality, but in your tavla game, he pauses to move a counter. I see only risk. Have you been watching me? Castor's eyes. Let's not be paranoid. You are aware of my interest in you, are you not? Risk is, of course, necessary to play tavla. Risk is, of course, necessary to play tavla. To move a piece is to expose it, but it should be done with calculation, with proper analysis. Then if the piece is taken, Castor moves the counter, taking one of yours with a practice swap, placing it beside the board. It is already accounted for. But you move forward with abandon, as if risk was just a secondary effect of action, a consequence, not its primary guide. He gestures for you to take your turn, of course. I play my way. He smiles. Indeed, that is all I seek. You move your piece. This locks you into being reactive. If you don't mind me saying so, you are responding, which means you are being led. He leans back to consider the board. This place, it mirrors you, Sleeper. It is also reactive. It was born from a crisis, the collapse of Solheim, and ever since it has been reacting without any central guiding principle. No analysis, no calculation. Just look at our refugee crisis, for example. It is all reaction, all risk-taking and little risk calculation. At first I found the chaos enlivening, especially when trying to track its outcomes, but now I find it exhausting. He laughs. It always amuses me that this place is literally spun from the rim. Below this very stack of habitation blocks is the most important control facility on the Eye. Spun from the rim, he laughs again. What better metaphor could you find for disorder? His face drops. But why am I telling you that? That facility is precisely why you are here. He smiles an unsettlingly warm smile. You feel a shiver through your body as if something has changed in the air. How do you know about that? No words come out of your mouth. You feel removed from yourself, watching from behind frosted glass. Your eyes dart side to side. Inertia sets in. Castor is still smiling. The risk you are planning to take here, Sleeper, is not yours to take. Castor's tone is unshifted. He speaks as if this is still some casual conversation between passing acquaintances. You are leaping towards a chaotic outcome with no respect for risk. You see, calculating outcomes, that's my speciality. That's why I'm here. I was hired for... as a conduit for risk, as a collector of data that might pertain to its arrival. He removes his glasses to clean them, and you see something flicker across their surface, a shimmering stream of characters. This system, this station, it's already theirs. Solheim's collapse meant a corporate fire sale. Assets changed hands. My employers, Senetstat, brought out the entire system, and for the past decades have been its one valid honor. He polishes his glasses diligently. But to possess this system, the H1 system, Helion to you, well, that is a matter of risk, of how much force, how much cost, how much conflict a clearance would take. He replaces his glasses. That risk must be calculated against the favorable outcome. In short, how much is this place worth to us? For a long time, the answer was nothing. H1 could offer nothing that would warrant the risk. But the markets change, the demands shift, and Senetstat, we analyze, we follow, we respond. He puts his glasses back on his face. H1 is about to become the most important system in this part of the galaxy. He glances around. The lone CAN channel operating within a range of 7 or so newly surveyed resource-rich systems. The frontier town that feeds the gold rush, so to speak. So here we are, re-evaluating the risk, reclaiming our property, starting up the CAN channel and clearing the way for what comes next. He sits back, looking at the board. He gestures. Your move. Sense is causing the flux? You manage to force out the words. Castor looks a little surprised. Senetstat is acting to reclaim their property from illegal occupation, to re-establish H1 as a foremost colony of the surrogacy program. Of course, I do not need to explain myself to you, but in the role as an analyst in my calculations, I see great promise in you, your ability to enter systems, to shift them to your will. Not every sleeper has this capacity, I assume you know that. He smiles. It truly is a wonderful happenstance of S&Ops technology. I imagine even they are not fully aware of it. He takes his move, claiming another of your pieces, and as you watch, you realize the inevitability of his victory. I will make you an offer, to come willingly or come by force. This station will collapse, we can be sure of that, but your ability to work with data, well, for an analyst, that is very intriguing. He pauses to push his glasses up his nose. Very intriguing, indeed. He glances around. Come with me as a collaborator or as a prisoner. Consider the risk. On one hand, He glances around. Come with me as a collaborator or as a prisoner. Consider the risk. On one hand, almost certain death. On the other, a possible future. Analyst or not, you must see it. Speak now, sleeper. The game is forfeit. You must see that. He holds out a hand. You are of value. You are needed. You feel a slight release in the inertia that grips you, enough to allow you to speak, to respond. You realise that you are already in Castor's hands and you cannot move from this place if you wanted. Sleeper? You hear the familiar voice above the crowds. Sleeper, I'm here. You are unable to turn your head to see Peake, but you notice Castor's eyes following them as they've come up from behind you. Then you see Castor's eyes glance down towards his hand, concealed beneath the table. Sleeper? Peake comes around the front of you and waves a hand in front of you. We were supposed to be meeting, remember? They glance at Castor. Sorry, am I interrupting something? You cannot speak. Castor shoots Peake a wide smile. Hello! You must be a friend of Sleeper. You watch one of his hands lift. Close to his body, some dark shape concealed in it. A weapon. You try to scream, to shout, but Castor's attention remains partially on you, and while it does, you can do nothing. Peake glances at your static form. What's happening here, Sleeper? They put a hand on your shoulder. Are you okay? As Peake stares into your eyes, you see Castor behind, his hand lifting, the dark object unfolding, and in the split moment it does, you feel its attention shift to Peake, shifting away from you. As you do, you feel the inertia lifting, and you know this is the only moment you have to act. You lurch forward wildly like a sprung trap. Your head strikes Peake's chest and then carries them back into Castor. Somewhere, some digital screech is echoing through the walkway. They tumble together and the object in Castor's hand skitters across the floor. You realise the screech is you. You get to your feet, grab Peake, and run. You run as hard as you can, the scream chasing you down the walkway as you shove through the residence, Peake dragged behind. You run from the cold grip of whatever power Caster had over you, the signals that locked you into this body of yours, that broke the connections and crawled up your spine. Eventually you stop, both you and Peake collapsing, heaving, breathing into the cold metal floor. When they are about to speak, Peake asks you to explain, and you tell them everything Caster told you, about Senate about their claim on the Helion system, their reactivation of the CAN channel, the Helion system's growing importance. It flows out of you in desperate gulps, unable to believe your own mouth as you hear these words coming back to you. All you feel is a need to push back against the cold hand on your shoulder, the vast cold eye that has turned to look at the system, the ghost limbs of corporate control that are extending their reach. Peake is quiet for a long time, then they speak. We have to finish this, sleeper. They meet your eye. We have to complete the seeding of the systems. We have to set Gardner free. You're right. If the choice is between Gardner and these people, I will choose Gardner every time. Their eyes are cold and steely. I would choose anything over them. You stand together. The final control facility is here. I found it. Peake looks at you grimly. I can take you as soon as you are ready. Time's almost up. This is the only shot you'll have. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay. We don't have scrap, but we can feed the stray. And we can end the cycle. But that is all we've got time for. I think we've probably only got about one episode left. We're halfway through our time ahead of the Flux event. We don't have the greatest of dice, but we can head. That's depending on how much time we've got at the end. After we've got into the thing, I imagine there's going to be a conversation with the gardener again. But for now, thank you for hanging out. Don't forget to leave a like on the video if you enjoyed it. If you haven't already, please consider subscribing to the channel, ticking the bell so you know when new videos go live. In the description is a link to the channel Discord. Feel free to come and talk about the games you're playing, the games I'm playing, games in general. I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.